them on. Bring them into the fold. Let them join the conversation. They're missing out on so much important stuff. I'm not sure if she heard me or if she's just confused and staring aimlessly into the wall. You know, when you have producers and stuff in the back, sometimes they just...
Yeah.
They're staring at the equipment and you don't know if they're paying attention. But someday, the YouTube people will join us. So, just to let you Facebook people know what we were referencing, I made a reference. What was it? The edible tuna? What? The mayonnaise?
Mayonnaise.
And then I made
Here you go. Here's something that's going to be, it's going to elicit some response.
And then, then it was, hey, Chuck, you bought a graveyard. This is great. We just sit back. People always die. We sit back and rake in the money. And then it's like, hey, this one's full. You should have bought an empty one. Now it's Michael Keaton. And
I had zero context beyond the quote. Just want to say.
Yes, and that's
so I had to actually create from my image bank.
But the joy of movie quotes, of really good movie quotes, is they live on their own.
They do. They stand alone and they take on a life of their own.
Yes.
And we don't know what
They need no context.
Yeah,
they can just be thrown into anything. Funerals, weddings, swim meets, whatever. Just
swim meets.
Throw them out there and see what happens.
I love that. I love words, and I love how they show up. I was at CMU for an incredible documentary and last evening, and I had the good fortune to be seated near somebody whose life study and her department specializes in sociolinguistics, and we were talking about that same thing.
Oh,
that's
just
really what
quotes
it is.
of like
How
disembodied quotes and stuff.
Yes, how language shows up in many, many ways, and how it informs culture and vice versa.
Very cool. Susan, talk amongst yourself for a minute because my phone is making noise, and I'm going to turn the ringer off.
I'm very good at talking to myself.
Don't you realize I'm busy? Been silenced.
This is to show you how much we care about you, because we do not try to polish this or edit it or, this is, and I guess it's unusual. I watch, apparently this is not how these things are done. They're usually done and then edited and polished up and all the little flubs and things are taken out. And what fun is that?
I prefer it this way.
This is life. You don't get, you're not editing yourself when you're walking down the street, right?
Not everyone does, Scott.
Say the large majority of people don't. But you're just going through and you have to adjust and adapt. And
I think that's the beauty of a podcast.
It was until everybody started editing these things and trying to make them into shows.
I think it's what it's meant to be at its essence, and I think therein lies the impact. I do understand editing for certain treatments and perhaps adding images or creating meaningful subtitles, etc. But at the end of the day, it is really great to be spontaneous and
want the reality.
Feel as though you're part of a human conversation interaction.
That's right. It's real. It's an unstructured. You never know where it's going to come up.
I think for much of Gen X, I would say, at least the older side of Gen X, and
can you explain? There's so many things now. Obviously, I got the baby boomers, right?
Generation Jones.
Generation Jones. What is that? I've never heard of that. What is that?
That's me.
That's you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not quite a baby boomer. Not quite Gen X.
All right, well, explain that. Is there like 3 months of somewhere that
sandwich? It truly is a very small number of years.
Because baby boomers are till like 65 or something, aren't they?
Yeah, 64, 65.
So what's Jones? What's this Jones thing?
We go back to the tail end of the 50s to mid 60s, later 60s. I think because there were shifts in television programming.
Okay.
And again, you and I, we didn't understand how impactful that is. And just media in general and access. And truly, the boomers had already come through, and we were, speaking as somebody from that era, we were definitely in the wake of the boomers.
Right.
Yeah, we walked into, I think, truly brand new structures and possibilities. So say somebody who is a quintessential boomer, maybe a female who became an attorney or a medical doctor in that era would have been an exception.
Okay.
By the time...
So they would typically be like a mom, a housewife, a secretary, something like that.
But some sort of...
Rosie the Riverer, I mean, they're making planes and boats and stuff like that.
But only temporarily. They were forced out of the jobs once the GIs returned.
Damn them.
Yeah, and they went back into the home. But again, all of that was precedent setting, showed what was possible, and eventually filtered into our reality.
Down to the Joneses.
Yeah, so to the Joneses and those who are the early, at least the early Gen Xers, like yourself.
So when's Gen X take place?
I would say in the very late or mid or late 60s. I think it depends on your source, but certainly if you're born in the 70s, you're an X.
Sure. All right.
So we're exposed to things that culturally there's some relevance, and we understand.
And how long does Gen X go up to? So it's from like
until the millennials.
Isn't there a Gen Z, or there's a Gen Z?
Oh yeah, there's a Gen Z, but it comes after the millennials.
Why does the Gen Z come after the millennials?
I don't make these rules and titles.
So Gen X is including like people in the 90s?
Your son is a Gen Z.
So when are millennials? I'm so confused
before that.
These titles.
The millennials now are mature adults.
So millennials,
many of whom may have families and children of their own.
Okay.
They are the relatively young family stronghold.
All right.
Of the American experience.
So Christian is a Gen Z. Christian Brandon.
Yeah,
What's
and then
after
comes
Gen Zs?
Alpha.
And even the Gen Zs, I know, because Christian's like, these kids these days, which is hilarious.
It is, isn't it?
To hear these young kids that are Gen Zs that, in our head, I still think he's 8. He's still running around with his curly hair and always will be. But now they're like, oh, these kids.
Yeah.
Like,
my daughter, one of my favorite things she's ever said, was there's nothing scarier than a group of young teen girls traveling together.
Is she a young teen girl?
My daughter, no, she's she's in her late 20s.
Oh, okay, all right. So, but she's not is she a Gen Z?
She is. She's the tip of that iceberg. The first,
right at the
first
trailblazer.
Out of the gate.
All right. The reason that kind of we're all talking about this is we're talking about family and the importance of family and friends and close bonds and stuff like that. Obviously, with the whole idea of different generations intermingling, trying to deal with each other and also try to get along with each other without killing each other. Kind of popped into the forefront of my head. I've always been a big fan of and just beat the drum for how important good friends are, how important close family ties are. I raise an eyebrow and really can't figure out for the life of me and truly feel sorry for people that don't have close relationships with their parents and conversely don't have close friendships with people. It's a problem. it came to a point this weekend. A good friend, his father recently passed. That we had a memorial, and he opened with the concept that, and it was a very interesting group, skewed very much in the middle. Is a lot of the older folks, the baby boomers that were friends of the dad, who are all like 80s, late 70s, some in their 90s. And then all of us who were friends with the son were all in our 50s. And that's the group, which is interesting. And he started off by saying how important we were, our age, his son's friends, to the dad and to his family as a whole, and vice versa. And we were all sharing stories about how close we were, and not just his dad, but all of our dads, and all of our moms. Um, it was there was still that separation of, yes, I'm a parent, I'm a kid, but it was, you read stories about things, and we laugh about it now. It's like when before phones, you just go out and play, and you're out all day, and you don't know where you are because there's no location tracker in your head. So you're just running around, and
A lot of freedom.
yeah, I mean, I literally came home one day with a stick sticking out of my cheek because I had a stick, impaled my cheek.
Gosh.
Yeah. So, hi, Mom. And then I came home one time just bleeding profusely out of my forehead because I had driven my go-kart into the neighbor's garage. Hi, Linda and Chase and everybody. The dent is still in the garage door, by the way. Oh yeah.
Commemorating.
Oh yes.
You should initial it.
I should actually. Yeah, in blood, just a little right there. Still got to the swim meet after that lovely gash, but
Of course. Yeah, that's very much Gen X and older.
yeah.
The show must go on, and
Yeah.
don't
Wake
don't,
up!
Don't
Come
be
on!
don't be a whiner.
Yep. I was at a swim meet once. I was at a championship meet, waiting to get some potato chips or something, and passed out from heat exhaustion, and I still swam.
Yeah.
After that, they're like, "Get some smelling salts. You got an event to go."
You gotta perform. You made a commitment.
Do they even would that even be considered today? They'd have to put you in some concussion protocol tent or something. And
Yeah, that would not be considered today, and that is not advisable. And we do not seek to give any medical advice. Please see your healthcare professional.
But get up and continue.
Anyone traveling in this journey with Scott is a walking asterisk. We just show up to say, disclaim.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's.
I wanted to just go.
Jump, no, that's
back
was
to
yes. Jump
my
into
original.
yeah.
My original point in bringing up media, which is relevant to our social
I love these chairs, by the way. You can just go
Thank
sleep
you.
during this.
You could recline.
Yeah.
If that screen
I
wasn't
know.
there, but
I'm
our producer Jayla anticipated you, and she foiled you. Yeah. Ha.
J-Lo!
So, gotta wake up pretty early around these parts if you want to get us something over. But I wanted to say that this is very reminiscent of the talk shows that I certainly grew up on. And whether it was Mike Douglas or Dick Cavett or Merv Griffin.
Yeah, Dick Cavett, yeah.
Moving into the later evening ones as well. And it just was, to me, great fun, even as a child, to watch an unscripted dialogue. And sometimes, the best moments are always the ones where people are either put on a spot or say something that's completely unanticipated. And in those days there were live audiences. In these days there are live audiences. But never did we think someday I'll be able to approximate this from my home or my basement or
from wherever,
building,
boat,
anywhere we want.
Yeah, on the river.
But it reminds me, just going back to what you were saying, there's something that at its essence is incredibly compelling and entertaining and rich, just about sitting down together and riffing and starting to talk.
I think there is as you were alluding to with the still continuing to go to the swim meet or whatever after mass hysteria, that there is a tendency to, I don't want to use the term give up too quick, but I'm going to use the term give up too quick, because I can't think of a better term in terms of a small little bump in the road. Adversity is like, oh, I can't, I got it, we're just going to stop and go back and reset.
We're talking about two extremes, right? You
I
fell
see that a
over.
lot now.
Yeah, you fell over at a swim meet and were just propped back up essentially and thrown into the deep end in every sense.
Still won. Still won.
And
Oh yeah.
high five.
I didn't
You're
lose. I
champion.
didn't lose at big meets.
And it's arguable that
I had a rest. I was out. I got a little power nap.
Yeah, it contributed to your character and who you are today. In a really positive way. And then there's the other extreme where we step away from anything that bespeaks danger or an unnecessary challenge. And again, those are two extremes. Probably the goal is to find yourself in the middle.
Yeah, there certainly should be a happy medium in terms of that. I think people are, I see this a lot in, he's a Gen Z, in Christian's thing with, because he's now out of school, so he's back living with us, and I can just, he's just like, oh, why am I living with my parents?
Yeah, it's natural.
God, they're driving me nuts.
It's natural.
I lived with my parents until I drove to the church to get married.
Yeah, and that used to be the case for everyone, just about.
I don't know.
In the prior generations.
Because
your generation, that was unusual.
Oh, yeah. My friends all had raised, they're like, you're what? Because they're all living in an apartment together and stuff. I don't know any of, actually, I don't know any of my friends who lived at home.
Yeah.
Any of them.
No.
And how strange am I for doing that?
I don't think it's strange. I honestly think it's the mix of personalities, comfort level, perhaps how much autonomy you had.
There's big house.
Probably, yeah.
Lots of space.
The space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
depends.
Jammed in there.
Yeah.
I always made the comment, I was like, it's fantastic. There's always food in the fridge. There's always a car with gas in the driveway ready to go. I was like, what could possibly go wrong?
Well, speaking of generations, that's where many millennials found themselves, and Gen Z finds themselves too. And some people cite economics, some people cite, again, the culture. A lot of them, the attitudes and the parenting patterns of the boomers.
So as a doctor of...
Please just call me Susan.
I know, I tease you.
I know you do.
So with this in mind, as more of a professional therapist type of person that has insight into these things, would you say that it is, I mean, there are obviously benefits and not benefits of having multi-generational households living together. I think the benefits outweigh the negatives by far. But part and parcel of that has both sides of, or whatever size, if it's multi-generational, all have to be willing to both give and take. It can't be just
right.
You must, you use the word autonomy.
Yeah. A top-down authoritarian.
Yeah, I think you hear a lot from a kid's point of view of living at home, saying, "It's my house, they're my rules."
Right.
Coming from the parents, and that's a surefire way to make sure that your kid moves out of the house and gets its own place, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think
quick.
I think it's healthy for an adult child to want to leave at a certain point, whether they're marrying out or they're just...
Well, marrying out is a totally different...
Whether they're leaving
different.
just because it's their time, and I think every individual is so different. They're ready at different times.
True.
And yeah, so I think that it's difficult for a lot of young adults to launch. I see that in my practice a lot. And I think we've touched upon this in an earlier episode. There, but it's absolutely true. The more affluent the culture, the later the age of maturation.
Well, it's that
and the way those metrics,
that golden cage. Right?
Yeah, the way the metrics are applied is socioeconomics.
Sure.
So there's the social side and there's the economic side, which produces the feasibility range of when someone is considered, using this word again, Scott, autonomous as an adult. And I think our world is increasingly sophisticated, which is probably a kind word for complex, and it takes longer to acquire all that is needed, both economically and in other ways, socially, because things are not as cut and dried as they used to be. And I think that's good that they're not as black and white and cut and dried as far as our mores go, and our values and our trends. But at the same time, it does produce complexity. And I do see where it takes longer for that evolution to occur, where someone could truly be independent.
Oh yeah. And then with the idea of independence, when you, I mean, if your parents are still around and then you're never really independent. I mean, you can be, but
not in some ways.
I feel sorry for those that are, because you're missing out. Like mom and dad both came back and lived with us. We had thankfully we were in a position that we were able to do that. So it did come full circle, and we ended up, as you know, the saying goes, we ended up becoming the parents of our parents.
Right. It's natural, I think.
I think it should
many
be.
Of us.
But there are, again, I mean, and even with my friends, they're like, I would never be able to do that with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm like, part of me feels sorry for them to even, that they would be in the position to even say that.
Mm-hmm.
Because what are you missing out on? What happened in your life that you wouldn't be comfortable welcoming your parent who took care of you and be able to take care of them and share whatever is left on the back end of it?
There's a lot of factors to consider and a lot of dynamics. Yeah.
But none of them, maybe one.
Wow.
Out of all, and these are the friends that we were just talking about, how good of friends we all are and how important it all is, but not any of them, except maybe one, would ever even consider, like would scoff and laugh at me at the idea of bringing it up, that they would ever think of doing that.
Yeah.
It's, as I call it, the Longwood scenario.
Well, I worked in a multicultural sector for many years, and in the Far East, there's no question.
Yeah, and Latin America.
And so
similar.
You show up particularly for your parents and grandparents, and you wouldn't think otherwise. It's just, and many are,
that's
quite vocal.
Wisdom thing.
Quite vocal about the fact that Americans they perceive as being,
you need a place to store
put words in their mouths, relatively cold and heartless.
But it's not just that, because thinking about it, I'm not sure any of the parents would ever, they would think they're imposing on their kids. They would never even, they wouldn't consider living. And on a nice day, a lot of them would be like, I can't live with my kids. That's why everybody's at Longwood.
Well, I think
they moved from their house and they moved to Longwood or wherever the place may be. And they're all at Longwood.
Yeah.
So it's like, a little
I would,
overnight country club camp.
yeah, I'd say
Love you over there at Longwood, by the way,
the
if anybody's
greater,
watching.
that's true.
Yeah.
The greater the likelihood that, and again, we're speaking generationally, where the nuclear family really comprises the majority of the families in the United States. And so we have a culture where the families start to compartmentalize and segment.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were saying earlier, many people start their lives single, but outside their family home.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very natural.
Sure.
We travel for jobs, we travel for adventure, or just desire. And we've been lucky, at least to this date, to have the capacity to do that for many decades in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And that really informs how it is that we live and venture into the world. And that autonomy, that freedom to just go out, explore, do an experiment is a big part of the American experience, but everything comes with a price. And so you do leave. And a lot of folks boomerang back. Pittsburgh is a key city for that. It's honestly a phenomenon in Pittsburgh. How many adults, especially once they get to a certain age in life and settle down, often return
Because
to
Pittsburgh's
Pittsburgh.
a better, cheaper place to live than anywhere else.
It truly is.
Economically, I think
truly is.
economically that has a huge thing to do with it.
Yeah.
Huge.
It's certain huge.
Huge.
It certainly does. And so again, when we look at it, that two-parent home structure, which is now often one parent, and 2.5 children, I mean, that really
Is it even 2.5 children anymore? I would almost say it's like 1.5 children now.
It starts to roll the ball in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Oh, sure. It's I look at the benefits, and we were very fortunate. Christian, particularly, was very fortunate that he had his grandparents around for decades, so he was able to be a fully functional person and interact and talk and have a life with baby boomers. He even had at least, he was a teenager, with his great grandmother, so with a great grandparent, to have a conversation about somebody who was an adult basically during World War II and during the Depression, to be able to talk to somebody instead of just reading it in a book.
Oh, my daughter's life is completely informed by that same experience.
Right? I mean, it's so unique.
Completely informed. One of the reasons raising her here in Pittsburgh was a good choice, because she had consistent exposure to grandparents, and she was blessed to know 2 great-grandparents and a beautiful tapestry of extended family and friends who knew that family for generations, like we were alluding to earlier.
Extended village, idea.
It informs her identity and where she comes from and who she is.
Yeah, it makes me a zealot in a way for that, and people who are not used to that, because most people, I think, have their closest circle of friends later in life that continue on.
Yeah.
Either from the most recent neighborhood where they're living, where their kids grew up, so everybody is in that, or from college if they still have people that are friends that they met in college and continued, or at work, and depending on how long they're at work, that's their close friend group. And we talked about this before. My close friend group are literally people that I've known since nursery school.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I don't think it's weird. the world thinks it's weird.
Well, you have to understand that you grew up in a pretty close-knit community, and I don't know if you were always here. My impression is you weren't. You left and came back, or you had
Well,
enterprise without a chair.
I went to school in Texas, so I was out for 8 years. So my time being single alone was college far away,
Mm-hmm.
and then doing stuff while I wasn't in class. So for that period of time,
Yeah, and then you came back.
and then I came back.
So, in for those years that you were gone, you were coming back and forth, and
Not as often though, because it was a plane. It
Mhm.
wasn't like being at Penn State where you could just drive. Even though the time of a plane flight from Texas to here and driving from Penn State to here is somewhat similar.
Mhm.
Um, the concept of having to go to the airport, get on a flight,
It's different.
it's different than just getting in a car and driving.
Yeah.
Goes to that experience that Americans, particularly in the world, are blessed in terms of the interstate highway system that we can get in a car and go wherever
Oh, for
at
sure.
any time.
Access to cars.
That traveling Wildeberry car suburban thing is a
it's-
uniquely American thing.
It is uniquely American, and it's
Um,
very much a part of. It's so built in. We
Yeah,
don't
and
even
even
think
and the
about
more
it.
west you get, the more that
True.
is expanded because us Easterners in Eastern America have no comprehension of how big the states are out
Yeah.
west.
Yeah.
To wit, it is just as far from Pittsburgh to Dallas as it is from one end of Texas to the other end of Texas.
That's a mind
To
blowing.
even consider that idea is nuts. And same way from it's as far from Pittsburgh to Florida um, as it is from the top of California to the bottom of California.
Mm-hmm.
These states, there is just the amount of land, and Alaska's bigger than all of them combined.
Yeah.
So when you get out,
It's a big country.
it's a big country. So yeah, it is. And that's wonderful. But it comes with its own basket of issues as well. So you could end up anywhere.
You can. And a lot of people they travel abroad. There's such a thing as a digital nomad, so you can work
Estonia is,
from
from
any
what I
place.
understand, Estonia is the place. If you're a digital nomad, look into Estonia because apparently they are the best, and they have those golden visa programs in different
Yeah.
places and stuff
Yeah.
where you can go pick and choose. And
It's just, again, the world is big, and
yeah, this
so
part of the
much of
podcast
it
brought to you
is
by the government of Estonia.
so much of it is accessible to the average person. I mean, it is mind-blowing, but again, with access comes complications, a degree of sophistication to be applied to how you make choices and navigate the world and your relationships.
Do you obviously people can be overwhelmed with it, so it freezes them. I
Oh,
do I do
sure.
think that the majority of people are wired to the extent where if they're presented with all of these options, they just freeze up and choose nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is what the power of the phone has done to a lot of people because they can just fold in on themselves and stay in their own little phone and have
Yeah.
the perception that they're
Right.
going out and about
There's
doing all this
stimulation there. Mm-hmm.
at 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 the bereft of being able to go do that, and it's to their detriment that they then don't have those experiences in person with other people. um we were just going through stuff with literally boxes and boxes of old pictures of and I'm like, we need to get all these transferred and do legacy box and stuff and that and Ava she's like, why? No, we don't. I'm like, yeah, we do. Well, why would you do that? They're right there. I said, well, they fade. If we put them all on some digital device, we can all have them. We're still going to have these pictures. I love going through, and Ava did too when she first met myself and my parents and moved into our basement and was a basement dweller in our basement for years. But we had all the old, photo albums that you would go through and you're like, oh, and stuff like that. So similarly, I think saving those in a digital format, because you never know what's going to come next.
Yeah.
Um,
But you preserve them for
yes.
posterity.
Yeah. So I think that is of value. Our friend at the memorial, he was putting pictures up of his dad when his dad was a kid, like in before grade school and stuff, of things we never even knew, and
Right.
he didn't know. Nobody knew who some of these people were in the picture. So I think it's neat. I think
It is. It's wonderful.
History it informs all of us, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's great to have enough of a relationship where you can share it to the next generation and the next. And
Not even that you can, but you want to share it.
mm-hmm.
So it's not. It goes beyond just the ability to do it, but the desire to do it. So and explain it.
What do you think motivates people not to?
I honestly don't know. I think it's just growing up in whatever system, whatever non-nuclear family or however it was that didn't make that a big deal, that didn't impress upon them to
The roots.
yeah, of the
I meet
importance,
people,
right?
yeah, many people who really don't have a sense of their
They
roots.
just went through life without having. It was like the holiday Presbyterian. I'll see you at Christmas and Easter and maybe Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fair weather friend is another phrase that comes to mind for that.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I think that's part of a lot of families and a lot of just friendships as well, because it takes effort and it's not always going to be reciprocated.
No, it isn't.
And we're in a society now, and I don't know if I should say we're in a society now. I think everybody always has been looking for immediate gratification. It's not just a new thing. Everybody wants to be immediately gratified.
It's just more possible now.
It's easier to do that now. So if your efforts to follow up with somebody from high school are not reciprocated, and even to the level that it doesn't come back to the same level that you're giving out,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to just move on to the next one and just it's not worth trying to keep up with what Jim's doing today.
Or you may have a life crisis or some extraordinary challenge, and you're unable to show up like you used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lived through that, and people resent that you're not showing up the way that they expect you to or like you always have. And because they haven't lived through something yet, they don't understand it.
They don't know what the situation is.
And they take it deeply personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Many things can happen.
It's like the handwritten note we were talking about last week. If you don't get that handwritten note, it's like, oh, Betty doesn't care about me. She didn't send me a note. Didn't send me a thank you.
People can get in their heads.
Yeah. It's that's why I'm like, you gotta just keep on going. And it's interesting because I've always, for whatever reason, been the one that I was always the party provider rather than the party goer.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me why I got into the nightclub business, and I told them, I said, I hate going to nightclubs.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Why would you? I was like, well, because you have a choice. You could either I could sit in my dorm room and be a social leper, or I have to figure out how to make it so I can.
How to make this tenable for yourself.
I gotta. I mean, as a selfish human being, as we all are,
Clubs are a big part of our youth.
Yeah, I would like, particularly if you're at a college and stuff. You're going out and stuff. I was like, okay, so I don't like going out. I'm not a huge fan of drinking. Hate beer. I'm like, so how do I go about still staying in the mix, and not just staying in the mix, but being an integral part of the mix? And it started by, I was like, well, I'm just gonna. I made a deal with the little corner bar where everybody went. I said, and I went to the guy who owned it. I said, you should have a DJ instead of just piping this music in. He was like, well, and I had all my stuff, that I took to school with me because I
You're a
DJ
born
here.
entrepreneur.
I was like, I'll bring my stuff in. I'll DJ.
That's a great story.
And it went great. And he paid me to do that. And
it was win-win.
It was a win-win. And then this is actually, it builds. I didn't start out by talking about this. This was not my intent for this particular part of the podcast to go into great detail, but it's a good story. So I'm DJing, and then after a couple weeks of that, and he's paying me not a lot, like $150, $100 a night or something like that. And I'm like, I'm doing this like 4 nights a week. I gotta buy a lot more music so we can stay current and not just keep playing the same thing over and over again. He's like, well, I can't pay anymore, but you can charge a cover charge if you want. I said, so I can charge cover charge and keep whatever the cover charge is? He's like, yeah. But I'm not picking the cover charge. You have to have, you hire somebody to take the cover. I was like, okay. And you're still going to pay me the $100 a night? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, but I also have to eat for free. If you could throw that in there too. And
if anybody needs an agent, contact Scott.
So after like the second or third night of me just counting off like the $1,000 or whatever from the cover charge, he was like, I'm not paying you your $100 anymore. I was like, I'm still eating though. He was like, you can still eat.
I love that.
And then a year after that, he went out of business. And his manager and myself bought the place across the street and hired him to be our manager.
Oh, that's amazing.
And turned that into, and we called it Across the Street. The name, it was called Across the Street because it was across the street from where we used to.
Where was this?
This is in Dallas. In Dallas, Central Expressway. There's Mockingbird, SMU right there. It used to be called Yale Boulevard. It's now SMU Boulevard. And he just my partner just ended up selling it maybe not too long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was the only building. It was an old warehouse. It was the only building on that street that hadn't been torn down and redone because SMU just grew so big. Everything else on that street had been torn down and rebuilt and redeveloped except for Across the Street bar, which was just like an ugly thorn in the middle of all this redevelopment. It was like that movie Up or an old Bugs Bunny cartoon where the city grows up around this ugly building that was our bar.
I love it.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Took Ava to see it. Literally, I hadn't been there for 15 years when I took Ava down, and I don't think they changed a nail.
Wow.
And even my old partner was sitting at the same picnic table in the same clothes as like when I left 15 years ago.
So it's still going.
Not anymore. It was up until 2018.
That's incredible.
From 1989 until
what you started.
Yeah, so it was wild.
And you have this wonderful enterprise here with Ava's EsSpa.
Absolutely.
And you're a fine employee of Ava.
I am a numero uno employee. Actually, she would probably say I'm way down on the list of employees. But as I say, I'm the husband of the owner. But the concept being, there was a point to me bringing this up. Of always being the host and the provider and everything. Even before going to school, I always had the big parties in high school at our house. So I have tried to continue that now.
You informed the culture of your day spa in that way too, both you and Ava.
Well, I think it's more Ava. I'm just playing. I'm just pulling from what she is providing.
You very much feel hosted.
We try.
It is a curated experience from even before you walk in the door.
Well, I mean, and
I want to make that point because it's a differentiator, and not everyone or every enterprise does that, and it is a feature which allows you to stand out and offer a high quality experience. You're not paying me to say this, but I am saying it.
A little bit.
He's threatened me. But honestly, It's I'm here against my will. But no, it makes a difference, and maybe that's another topic, and we touched upon it before too, is the capacity to open your home.
Well, and it's tough to do that.
And truly host, like the Southern etiquette.
Yeah.
Truly host, what does that mean? And to invite company. I grew up in a place and at a time when I was a child and a teen where it wasn't unusual for someone to just show up.
Yeah.
Knock on the door, ring the doorbell, company.
Yeah.
And your entire day shifted to accommodate, these people. And they weren't vagabonds.
No, and mom and dad, mom's making grilled cheese and it's just, let's make some cookies, let's do whatever.
Typically, there was a parent at home and could accommodate that. And we never thought twice about it. Now,
just bands of roaming children wandering the neighborhood, going into other houses.
Yeah, always drinking from the garden hose. Yeah.
I remember, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
But the idea is that you remain so open and flexible and adaptable to human connection. And this kind of brings it full circle.
So what changed? Why don't people do that anymore?
Well, I think that there is like you always say, these play a big role, and the idea of personal space and the idea of boundaries. It's all good and it's all very important.
Boundaries.
But
I laugh in the face of boundaries. What good are boundaries and rules?
Well, yeah, there you go. Spoken like a good anarchist.
No, I'm not a fan of anarchy.
But I am. But boundaries.
But somebody wrote these rules and it wasn't me.
Yeah.
But
boundaries, I think people don't necessarily approach them in as holistic a way as what a really functional, optimized facet of life a boundary can be. You just need to know your thresholds. You need to know your limits. You need to know what your expectations are. You need to own them and be able to share them transparently in a way that doesn't offend, but that allows others a comfort level. It ultimately is there to produce a comfort level for both parties. And that, I think, it should be, where possible, negotiable. I think people do get closed down because we live in a perpetuating state of overwhelm. We've become accustomed to overwhelm. Overwhelm's the new normal. And a lot of people are very macho about it.
Like they have to be.
They got
the martyr syndrome.
Exactly. That's a good word for it as any. They love having a bullet list of so many
Look how much I did today.
And therefore, look how
much I have to do tomorrow.
Look how valuable I am. Look how I earn my place in the world.
Yeah.
Earn my place in this family. I'm in pain. It's obviously because I sacrifice or do too much. But if I didn't, then what? And we do. So many people are fearful of that. And it's difficult.
Not having that? Or
fearful of having that. Fearful of falling short.
Fearful of not having a list?
Mm-hmm. I mean, a list is one thing. I like a list. I was just talking to Shayla about that. We love a good list. But if the list isn't accomplished, it's all right.
Yeah, but the other thing with the list is if you have a really long list or you're overwhelmed with work and you are making that, like the only person making you do that list is you.
That's right. The internal taskmaster. Right?
And I'm fine with that until you start complaining about the list and how long it and that you have no time for anything else and everything and
then you become toxic
and then
you're dysfunctioning and you're impacting others. that's where, Scott, if this is helpful or anyway, or just something to maybe connect on, you're not giving yourself a boundary. What you're doing is crowding out everything and
Yeah.
everyone.
So how do people change that? I mean,
And
because I know people like that.
you're weaponizing your daily right to an agenda, and
You're
that's
making yourself
not
miserable.
fair. And
And if
then
you're
everyone else has to put up with it.
well, and if if you're making yourself miserable, and you can sit there and justify it by saying, well, if I don't do this, it's not going to get done, or whatever. y- Misery begets misery. There's a reason the word Schadenfreude exists.
Yeah.
And it's just how does somebody get out of that that little
I work with
maze, that
that.
little rat race?
I work with that all the time. And it's difficult. And I was a firstborn type A personality a lot of my life. I think firstborns often are. And I was very goal oriented. And
What happened to me?
it was hard for, I know. It was hard for me to achieve a more balanced life, but I did understand that it was important. And where you can, you need to take that opportunity. But at the end of the day, burnout it should be perhaps something that we occasionally run into and experience and
Not every day.
and learn from, but it should not be a chronic
Right.
condition, and it shouldn't be expected. And we don't very often, this is the yang to the yin, we don't take our power where we actually have it. And this word autonomy. In order to be autonomous, we have to be willing to lead our experience or lead our life.
Mm-hmm.
And very often what we do is we defer to some externalized agenda, which is often subjectively arrived at. We do not necessarily have to tick off all those boxes or attain A, B, C, D, E, F, G in order for everything to be all right and for us to live with ourselves. But we do not give ourselves that permission. We really don't give ourselves the opportunity to lead with discernment and become far more intentional. And a lot of people who will just be kind and say overachieving every day, they may look incredibly intentional, but
I think they're just reacting.
They are completely reactive. And that is a good conversation maybe we could have at another podcast, because that is where in my work the yin and the yang really meet and oftentimes clash. We produce an internal conflict that doesn't have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to learn that we are giving up our power and autonomy and becoming so reactionary. Mm-hmm. And we are led by what? At the end of the day, fear. And then that becomes resentment, which is an offspring of anger.
Yeah.
And we have all
You're just
of
miserable.
Exactly. All of this toxic build up, but we turn it into fuel, and that's what we begin to run on so that we can meet an impossible set of expectations that we become a victim of and don't realize that we've generated ourselves.
Well, and then you're trying to play that constant victim card to get everybody to sit there and say, oh, woe is you, I feel sorry for you, which just... people aren't going to do that, because it's like you
chose it.
You have a choice.
You are in pain. You chose it, and people will actually begin to resent you and back away. I think that's the bell.
Jayla, what time are we? Where are we?
I'm getting a look, nonverbal, that we are,
because we're so far away. I can't tell what time it is, but. This is a good conversation. We'll get into this more.
I think we all find ourselves in this, whether or not we are the person who's overbooked, or we're a martyr, or we're the victim of someone who's overbooked and a martyr. Whatever it is, we know what this is. It's too familiar in a modern world.
Yeah, and it's we have set up. I know you this place is Green Heiress is the kind of place to go and escape that, to try to
Thank
rebalance it,
you.
reset it,
Yeah.
find answers to
Answers and
why and
perspective.
how to get around it.
It is about taking back your native right to lead your own experience, because that is truly what I think is foundational and necessary to any form of healing.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan. Look, we're all reactionary, but react to things that you have no control over that happen to you. Right? I mean, you just have to. The road is under construction. You got to react to whatever. It's going to throw your timeline off for wherever you're going. The whole idea of reacting to things you have control over is just, I find it fascinating and sad that some people are stuck in that realm.
You always hear me say we're designed to adapt, and we're designed to adapt through our creative intelligence. And when you find yourself in a reactionary loop, or maybe after today's podcast realize that you have become reactive, you thought you were being active.
What is that awareness of
and leading and taking on?
Right?
Yeah. When you find that, oh, wow, I'm culpable here to a degree in my suffering, although I started out with the best of intentions, as most people do. When you come to that moment, it's important just to take a breath and say, I have the opportunity to adapt in a way that will serve me and probably ultimately serve everyone.
Right.
Better.
Yeah.
Let me take a moment, clear my mind, and calm my body and think about another way.
Yeah. So here's for those of you out there in podcast land. So if you have a full day today and you're going home and you're supposed to make dinner at the end of the day and you've had a really tough day, order out. Don't make dinner.
Yeah. Or
and just get it in to-go containers so you can just throw it away and you don't even have to do dishes.
Compostable.
Afterwards. So when you get the food and take it home, don't take it out of the containers and put it into china and place it at home with actual silverware. Just eat it out of the box with the plastic utensils and then throw it all away. It's amazing how much cleaner things are. You don't have to worry about cleanup.
Yeah, take an extra 5 minutes to yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, just leave it and see what happens, because you do have to, if you're, as I say, in recovery from being an overachiever.
Busy?
Yeah, you do it by degrees and build a muscle for it like you would anything else. But that is your yin nature. That actually hones the capacity to receive. And that's very difficult for all of us in a Western culture to understand, that action doesn't lead to progress and more and safety. But oftentimes we have to pause. Sometimes we have to retreat. And that's the way by which we can receive more. That's the whole key to manifesting.
I am always fascinated at how much time there is in the day if you wake up before noon. Just saying. And on that note...
Spoken like an overachiever.
I'm an overachiever.
Come slack with us.
Likes to sleep in.
Come slack with us next week.
Join us next week. Always an interesting conversation.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Susan. And as always, if you have any ideas, please DM us or include them in the chat. Send an email, carrier pigeon, knock on our door. We're around. And Erica will not be back next week, but I think Ava might be, or if not, you just get what you get. So it's like,
so feel free to help us out with topics.
Not
that we don't have a lot to talk about.
We'll just keep going.
God knows where we could take
it's like
it.
Forrest Gump. Mama always said life would be like a box of chocolates. Never know what you're going to get. And on that note, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.